little over a year ago, Northwestern jumped onto an initiative with the city of Bloomington and some other community partners on a project commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. My role in this project was really to interview veterans, 7, and then the wife and sister of 2 Marines, and have them talk to me about what that experience was all about.
I served in the United States Army from 1969 to 1971. In 1970, I served in Vietnam for a year. I found it useful to talk about it. I was wounded over there in my first unit, not severely, but bad enough. I was happy to get out alive. Nobody really wanted to talk about it. And people looked at you with a jaundiced eye. I mean, it took me almost a year to get a job. I had to pay for my job. I couldn't even get somebody to hire me. I was a college graduate. All my relationships had gone south. My girlfriend had gone south. And it was hard for them to understand how I could volunteer to go there. But the reality is I had no choice. Either I did that, get drafted, or I would be put in jail, or I'd had to go to Canada to get away. So you were basically faced with 2 bad choices.
The Vietnam veterans were treated horribly by our government and by the people. You know, they were drafted. They didn't ask to be in that war. My first husband was a Vietnam veteran, and my brother did 2 tours in Vietnam. A friend of his sacrificed his life for him. You know, so and it's an experience that he never really got past. He relived it all the time. And he basically told me I reminded him of who he was fighting when he was in Vietnam. He didn't see me as his wife. He saw me as an enemy, mainly because of what he experienced. Every time he would go to the VA, basically what they did, if one drug didn't work, they just gave him another one, and that just made the whole situation worse. You know, so one time he came home, he had like a little box that had like 9 different pills in it. If this one doesn't work, then take that one. And that just, that made our lives more miserable. Mine mostly, because of the physical abuse that came from it.
I was both professionally and personally interested, having graduated from high school in 1968 and then college in 1972. And so it was during the Vietnam era. And then when I became involved in this partnership and conducting the interviews, my interest in this period of American history and the stories of these people really deepened and gave me a fresh appreciation for what they went through. And these are all local folks. I think folks that watch the video and come to our event on November 9th, I think they're going to, appreciate, hearing from, people right in the Bloomington community that fought in that war, served in that war, and their experiences, and how it affected the lives of families, particularly those soldiers that came back both physically wounded and mentally and emotionally harmed. Clearly, all veterans should be recognized. We should not forget, and we should be, always thankful for their service. The added feature of this event at Northwestern Health Sciences University that we're doing in conjunction with the city of Bloomington is then to add a conversation after the dinner function between Vietnam-era veterans and the younger generation of men and women who have served, most recently in Iraq and Afghanistan. We'll have a conversation moderated by Katie Carpenter from Twin Cities Public TV, having a discussion between those 2 groups of veterans. What was different about the experiences, obviously different eras, and then the similarities between the war in Vietnam and what more recent servicemen and women experienced in more recent conflicts.
My family, it would be the first time they ever hear this story. And it was time. It was time. I've held it in for a long, long time, and it was just time to let go, to release and let go, because I know I'm not the only one. At one time, during that time, I actually thought I was the only one. And so I never opened my mouth. And then during that time, I lived through the experience where domestic violence was not an issue. I mean, that's the way the police looked at it. So I had no help, so I had to endure. I'm just happy that the time has come and that I have lived to see this time come to honor our vets, especially our Vietnam veterans. It's been long overdue. This should have happened from the very beginning. And even though it didn't, now that it is, you know, I applaud the universe for making all of this possible because they deserved it.
It's very hard to share that with somebody who hasn't been there, done that, and lived with it. A lot of other people are in the same situation, and it's good to know that. And it's good to know that and to help them as well as help yourself. It's worked out, but it was tough. It was tough for a long time.